Hey, Decathlon Gamer, welcome back to FM23 Newton Heath, episode 44. We continue on with our season, and we are into the Papa John's Trophy and the decisive game that will determine the next phase of this. The group stage is just 3 matches. It's once against each opponent. From there, it'll go into elimination stages. Wolves lead the group with 5 points. Now, as we determined last time, here is how the points structure work. To win your match, you will pick up 3 points. But if you lose, obviously you gain nothing. But if you do finish in a draw, the match does not conclude there. It goes straight to penalties. The penalty winner will pick up 2 points, while the penalty loser picks up 1 for the draw that they had earned already. From that, we play Wolves in this match that we are about to carry on with today. Now, I don't care if we go on or not, and I will have some squad rotation for this. It's fine if we get knocked out. It's really not a big deal. The league is by and far our big focus. Now, early on, I thought maybe we would be looking at trying to make a couple round FA Cup, run or something, because I didn't think we were going to be competitive in the league. But finding ourselves competitive in the league has made that the natural attention getter, because there is no competition that we are a favorite in, such as the FA Trophy. We're out of that stage. We didn't win it. We came kind of close once or twice there, but we didn't win it. Now that that competition's behind us, and now that we're into the league, we're at the bottom end of the league. So nothing to compete for. But if we get out of this phase and into the next round, great. If we don't, whatever. Here's the scenario. If Bolton beats Wrexham outright, they will pick up 3 points. Wrexham would remain on 3 points. So us, with 4 points, would actually come out, regardless of what happens against the Wolves, would move on. We would be one of the 2 teams getting out of the group phase. So let's just hope Bolton wins and we don't have to worry about what happens with Wolves. If they draw, if Wrexham loses the shootout, the draw would keep them at 0. And as long as we don't get blown out by Wolves, even if we don't win, as long as we keep it within a couple of goals, we still move on, because Wrexham would be sitting on 4 points and Bolton would have 2. If Wrexham win a penalty shootout, that means their goal differential would remain at 0. If we draw, we would get to 5 points. So if they win the shootout, they'd be on 5, and as long as we draw, we move on. So the safest thing for us is to come away with a draw. If Wrexham beat Bolton, they're going to have 6 points. We would require a victory under those circumstances. So we'll keep a close eye, as a lot can happen because of that game. And if we win, we're in, period. So I have Ola out with his long-term injury, the broken foot that he suffered. He's down to 2 to 3 months on that, so it's already been over a month since he was injured. Donasian is out on international duty, and then I am resting Pike, Collier, Sarcevic, and Tanner, all heavy match loads, some of them a bit more tired than others, but they need a rest. We're not risking injury with those guys. So they are not even in the matchday squad. In the matchday squad, but trying to rest, Aboa, Amiobi, and Powell. That leaves us with the first likely subs to go in of Palmer and Pratt. If needed, late, because he's tired but only on medium, is Muir. The others will be if necessary. So that means our squad for the day that will try to get the job done, but is definitely not our strongest squad. Redden, he's in there. We're still trying to work him into the side. He hasn't done a lot yet, but his ratings have really come up over the last few matches, or in 3 of the last 4 matches for him. But he's already on heavy for match load. But he's in better shape than Amiobi, even though Amiobi looks fresher. Amiobi is very much coming off a little something, and just he needs the break. He absolutely needs a break. So Ren's going to get the start there. We got Lapalabai, Louis Marsh getting the start over Tanner because Tanner needs the break. Shaq Ford is still getting the start because between him and Aboa, it's the same difference. They're both on heavy match loads. So Ford will take the start. But Whitehall getting the rare start. Smallwood missed time from suspension, so he's back from that, but he's on light duty recently, so he's fine. Not having the greatest of seasons, but you can see 6.98's right about where that's going to turn green. Brooks is getting his first start of the year, and Wilson, even though he's on heavy match duty, Muir is tired. So Muir can't go 90, so I might as well start Wilson and maybe at some point early second half try to switch Muir in for Wilson so that they split, maybe an hour for Wilson and a half hour for Muir will help with each of their kind of match loads and fitnesses that they have entering in. Alfie Doi, meanwhile, he's good to go. I'm expecting to play him 90 as long as he can stay healthy. And Abuehi is on heavy, but he's the other player that hasn't had the greatest of form since coming in, and he's making more money than anybody else at the club, and we still trying to get him kind of into the system. And look at that, tactical familiarity has finally peaked for Abuehi. So let's hope that his form, which has been a little bit better lately, is going to continue to rise. And then Ashby Hammond's getting the start over Hegyi because why not? It's our cup. It's where he's supposed to get his time to get better so that he can compete with Hegyi, as he does have better potential. It's the smallest crowd we've had in this stadium, I think, in this playthrough other than preseason. My big concern is the shadow striker, Raul Jimenez, playing with the U21s. One of the more widely known players in the Premier League, playing down with the reserves. He's had some injury history. He's been kind of in and out of good form, but at times he is a very dangerous player. What kind of form is he in right now? Well, he's playing with the reserves, so I'm guessing his form hasn't been great. But guess who just put that header in the back of the net? Raul Jimenez. I guess his head's okay. Last I saw him, he was wearing quite the head wrap as Ashby Hammond dives right through the post. That should have been a pretty massive injury for him. We haven't even played 10 minutes. We're already trailing. We're going to need better if we're going to be in this thing. And we're going to very much need to keep an eye on, hopefully, League One side Bolton picking up the win over Wrexham. Keep us alive in the competition. As much as it's not necessary, as long as it doesn't matter, as long as I don't care. I mean, come on. We still want to play. And if they're going to help us and give us the opportunity to continue on to the next round and play another match, we'll take it. But I don't mind. Especially, not because it's not an important competition or anything, but especially because it means we don't have to deal with the fatigue, as our squad depth might be better than it was, but it's not great, and I don't want to go way down on the squad depth this year, as it's a tougher league to play in, and those weaker players on the back end of our squad depth would struggle and have struggled at this level. Marsh is through and flagged for offside, but I don't know what was up with that. Wrexham lead 1-0 on Bolton. Wrexham have taken the lead away at Bolton. Jimenez takes that himself. Fortunately for us, makes a big mistake. Max Power with the goal in the 27th minute at Bolton. Let's hope Bolton can get back into that thing, at least draw level. And that's the big thing. Because if Wrexham lose the shootout, we're still through, even if we lose here. And at the moment, that's looking pretty likely, as the Wolves are looking the much better team. Robbins lays that off for Frimpong. Out for a corner. Nearly halftime. Ashby Hammond tracks that one down. 9-3 on the shots, and that's halftime. All right, nobody is overly tired. No yellow cards. We continue on as is. No changes, but let's hope that the chat we had lifted them up a bit. Let's see if it turns into anything on the pitch. For now, it hasn't. We've now played an hour. Wilson, we're going to keep an eye on his fatigue. If he drops a level, we are going to sub him as Abuehi picks up the first yellow. We do have George Pratt. Let's just bring on Pratt instead of Muir. Smallwood into Wilson. Wilson over the bar. Tough angle from there to try to get that one on. Palabai picks up a yellow. Redden is quite tired. What do we have for Amiobi? Amiobi on. And we're almost out of time here. That's 2 subs. We can get, well, what's one more going to do? Let's go very attacking. I haven't seen any updates since that first goal. Is it still Wrexham up 1-0? Ford. Looks like that scraped off the bar because it certainly took a deflection, but it must have been off the woodwork, as it was out for a goal kick. And Ford clearly was the one to play it, so it wasn't the keeper's hands. Lapalabai, that was a really bad pass into him in the first place. Multiple yellow cards now, but we retain possession. Marsh can't get Ford through. Tough angle. Ford not really in the right position. There's Marsh. That's better from him. Amiobi lays it off for Brooks. Brooks down the sideline, and not a good pass to Amiobi. And that's going to do it. We are probably out, unless there was a surprise on the Wrexham side that we just happened to miss. Blown out, so at least there is that piece. We only lost by 1 goal. We still have a chance, depending on what happened in the other match, but we'll find out. Nope, Wrexham. Bolton did come back. Bolton equalized in the 73rd minute. Vandenberg with the equalizer, but Wrexham won in penalties. That being the difference. Had Bolton won in penalties, we would be through on goal differential with a +2. Wrexham's 0 would not have seen them moving on. But we are eliminated, and now we can focus solely on League 2. And like I said, as much as I wanted to get out of the stage, it really didn't matter. There is no objective here. It was just, hey, let's play one more. But that was our one more. We are done. Now it's all about League 2 the rest of the way. Let's see if we can maintain the momentum that we have in the league, coming off 2 straight losses in the FA Cup and the Papa John's Trophy. So back into the league, we're on the road at Stockport. I'm really nervous about this one because the match load has been intense lately, and even though I just gave a bunch of guys a rest for that Papa John's Trophy, it hasn't mattered. Match load is a lot heavier than what it was. Muir didn't play at all. He somehow went from medium up to heavy for match load. Didn't play him in the Papa John's Trophy. He sat on the bench, did not bring him in, did not want to risk him, and yet somehow he still went from medium to heavy. Alfie Doy now also on heavy. Pike's on heavy. At least Powell's down to medium, Smallwood's at medium, but Collier rested, still heavy. Redden, he played, he's going to have to play again, he's heavy. Tanner rested, still heavy. Aboa, we rested him, he's still heavy. So none of the guys who rested made the progress we needed them to. And then to make matters worse for us, we have had Wilson pick up a 2 to 3 week pulled hamstring injury that's going to see him miss the next few. So we've got either, Pratt having to come in and play a bit, or Collier having to play at center back. And yeah, there is some fatigue in the legs for this one, which will be my 100th match in charge. And unfortunately, this one has come out a loser. We were level 1-1 in the second half, just past the hour mark. But late on, O'Brien in the 85th gets the game winner, 13-7. And that is just our second loss of the year. I definitely sensed that I was nervous going into that one, that it could be problematic for us. And sure enough, it was. I would have been happy with a draw. George Pratt, who came on late, didn't even get on long enough to pick up a rating, but was on long enough to pick up a straight red card. We had had 4 yellows prior to that. Boy, oh boy, was that a rough day for us. And it looks like the follow-up to Pratt's sending off was probably a set piece, not penalty, but set piece goal that gave them the victory. So Pratt cost us in more ways than one. And I was just talking about how because Wilson's hurt, he's going to end up having to play some. It should have been, Doy coming off the bench or Wilson coming off the bench, not Pratt. So it's already cost us a point, and now he's going to be missing for the next few as well. This could be a difficult stretch for us. Let's hope we still have the top of the table afterwards, because that's 3 straight losses now. After 100 matches in charge of the side, now a lot of those have been over the last couple of seasons where we really just went on vacation most of the first year, let the assistant manager do the managing. But we still had a handful. First couple of years we had at least 10, 12 matches in charge, but out of 100 matches, we've only won 54 of those. But like I said, we've had growing pains where we were taking losses. 54 wins, 20 draws, 26 losses. We managed to get points 75% of the time. That's actually still decent. That's 175 points out of 100 played. It's not enough to be winning a title every season, but that's definitely enough to have you in the upper end of your competitive league that you play in. Goals for 173 goals against 95 with a plus 78 goal differential. Not quite a 2-to-1 ratio, but realistically we're almost looking at 1 goal against every match. 95 goals against in 100 matches. We're just below that 1.0, which is good defense, and we're at 1.73 goals per, so that's pretty good. 0.95 against. Total players bought now at 147. Of course, we did start with no roster whatsoever, so we bought quite a few in that first season. Transfer value 135k. Players sold is 36. So I've actually managed to get rid of a fair few players along the way and not just release them for frees at the end. But transfer value of those brought in is just 34,000. The funny thing is, we've only spent 100,000 more than what we've brought in, and I've actually only still paid for 1 player thus far. We brought everybody else in. 146 out of 147 we brought in on a free. Highest fee spent, there is that 140. It's rounded up there for Marcus Muir. And then our highest fee received, just over half of the total that we've received, is what we received for Tunnicliffe on a 1st of September this year. Total fees paid to agents, that alone nearly exceeds the transfer value of what we brought in. So for now, selling players has not been a big thing for us, but that's because we're trying to go up. We're trying to build a reputation, and the guys that we're getting rid of tend to be the worst guys out there, not the better ones. Tunnicliffe, of course, was our starting center back even just a year ago, but with Muir, with Pratt, they are better than what Tunnicliffe was. Number of players released is up at 59, so it's less than double on those sold. That's not bad for the levels that we were just coming out of. Match 101 is coming a week later and at home. We really need to bounce back with a win here, but we've already added to our problems. Wilson still not available, but maybe by the next one. Pratt, of course, is suspended. Brooks is now on loan the very day after the match we played, which he only had a 6.2 rating in that, by the way. The loan went through, so he is on loan now for the remainder of the season. Whitehall is trying to force himself on loan, even though he's played quite a bit. He's only had a couple starts, but he's had probably 10 appearances off the bench. For him, it's still not enough. He's not happy. Ola is out. Wilson's out. That's a lot. We do have a guy on trial right now in Dueni who looks like someone we may want to sign. He's a free. Of course, we wouldn't be able to register him until the 1st of January, so that would be when the deal would ultimately go through. The only thing I didn't know about is his injury history. I already had a good look at his attributes. Bringing him in should get me that medical history as well. The only two in the matchday side that are heavy on match load right now is Amiobi in the starting lineup and Redden, who would have been in the starting lineup instead. But with both of them on heavy, I don't have much of a choice. We have a bounce back with a win. We've also got a couple of easier matches coming up on the calendar, and Cheltenham have lost. So we've reopened our 9-point lead after it had shrunk to 6. Here, we've pushed it back out. Shackford with 4 goals. 2 of them very late on, so his hat trick and his bonus goal, his 4th. Ollie Tanner getting on the board as well. 19-6 on the shots. They only had 4 on targets. It's actually kind of disappointing that half of those shots on target and a third of their overall shots managed to go in. We didn't do quite as well with only about 25%, but we did get nearly half of our shots that were on target in the back of the net, so I suppose wasn't all bad. 68% possession. We very much 2-for-1 to these guys, and ultimately more than 2-for-1 in the goal differential in the end. But with Morecambe all the way down at 17th, and the next two, I think Shrewsbury is one of the opponents, and maybe Harrogate or whoever it is. It's 2 teams down near the relegation zone. You start to see a pattern emerge with Morecambe, kind of the tail end of a group that's pretty tight. I mean, there's only 6 points between them and Southend in 6th. There's only 5 points between Chesterfield, or really between Wimbledon, or 6 points between Wrexham and Cheltenham. But we, meanwhile, are right back to a relatively comfortable gap, and we still have a ways to go. We still have 5 matches just to reach halfway. Data analysis compared to the rest of the league: in 6 out of 8 team attacking categories, we are best of the league. Our overall pass percentage is still better than the average, and our shot percentage is better than the average. But the rest of it, the shots per game, the XG, and the goals, all right at the top of the league. With 2 more wins, comfortable wins at that, Harrogate 4-1, 2 goals from both Shackford and Aboa. And then Shrewsbury, we got spread the love on that one, 3-1 road win. We go ahead early, they pull one back, but then we finish it off late with Lapalo Bay. And in this one, a totally different group. It's Lapalo Bay and Redden getting on the scoreboard, along with one from Aboa. Things have been better. Ford got some rest that day. Things have definitely been better. We bounced back after those 3 losses. Only one of those in the league, though, so that part was important, and that has kept us strong. Now we have a 2-week break, though, as the second phase of the Papa John's Trophy got started, and quite a few of the teams made it through. Enough so that there just weren't league matches. There probably could have been some, but there was enough teams still involved in the competition that it just looked like it was a break. I don't think that, because there was 0 matches scheduled that day, I don't think that would have been how it would have turned out necessarily. But anyway, 48 points. Cheltenham's still on 39, so it's a 9-point gap with 20 matches played now, coming up on that halfway point of the season. Forest Green is 3rd, Stockport, Bromley, Chesterfield, and AFC Wimbledon in the playoff spots. 4 teams still less than a win behind Stockport. It's tight. It's very tight in the upper mid portion of the table, and even the bottom end. I mean, you got a good 6 teams battling it out to avoid the 2 relegation spots. Aboa and Shackford, each with 16 goals this season and a very similar rating. Shackford, though, does have 3 assists that Aboa doesn't have, and He's done it, I'd say, in a similar state. He's probably had a few more minutes. 18 starts, 4 appearances off the bench, where Aboa has 14 starts with 8 appearances off the bench. 22 matches played each in all competitions. And how many have we played? We played 4? 5. We've played 5 total matches outside of the league. We've played 20. So 25 matches, competitive matches, official matches this season. And they've each been in 22 of them. So they've only had a few days off a piece. But with that rotation, it's keeping them, just about where they need to be. Most everybody has good morale. Most everybody is happy or satisfied or, thrilled about their playing time. There's really only a few guys that we're having some issues with, and they're the ones that just don't play as much. Ollie Palmer is alienated. Whitehall has had 9 appearances, and he's not supposed to be getting much anyway. 9 appearances, he should be happy. He's being a total a-hole about everything right now. I'm really not happy with him or what he's doing. Having issues, but he's a guy who's he's like our 3rd or 4th highest salary. It just isn't up to par. Eventually, I think he's going to be the same sort of thing, but he has gotten better. I mean, his last 5 games is over 7. His average rating started out at like 6.6, 6.7. Now it's up to almost 7. I think he just took some time to kind of settle in. He's up to 4 assists now, when I'd say about 6 starts ago, he was still at 1. He's finally fitting into the side and understands his role out on the pitch, where the tactical familiarity started really low for him. It took him a little while. He's okay now, and I might actually finally update this to have him be kind of the regular starter. But Ndueni looks like he's going to be joining us quite soon. I'm starting to notice that not just Ndueni, but other players of a higher caliber that will raise the bar of this team and be good for League 2. There's not a lot of them, but they are finally noticing us and willing to play for us. Lapalo Bai is the man who is likely to see the bench a lot more. His rating below a 7. He's had 18 starts. He does have a few assists, but that's pretty weak. That is pretty weak from what you would expect. And in Ndueni, you can see he is faster. He has better vision, much better attacking. He's a little bit behind technically, but he's actually going to ball recover quite a bit. And even though he's not as good physically on the wing, that's not as big of a deal, because you're often defending a fullback who is, smallest guy out there and physically isn't that strong. And if you are on the weaker side, you're almost more likely to attract attention and draw fouls, especially if you're technically a little bit on the weaker side. So it can almost make up for it. He'll just probably get fouled a fair bit, but he's not susceptible to injuries, so he should be able to be more malleable, hit the ground, get back up. He's good aerially. He's good mentally. Outside of missing a couple technical points and being a little bit weaker physically, which Lapalo Bai is strong in that area and always has been, stronger than most. And Ndueni's not too bad in that area. I'm looking forward to this signing. It's pending right now. He might officially be on the squad by the end of the week, but it'll be a few weeks before we can register him to play, which will be, January 1st. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.